what is your general thought around people that say that you don't need an MBA education to start a successful business? There's many examples of people that have done it without any formal education. What do you say to those people that think that?
No, they are right. I mean, absolutely. Okay. But there's a nuance to it. Listen, I think most of the stuff that you could learn online, there are courses, etc., etc. So therefore, why do you actually join a B school? That becomes an important question. You can avoid mistakes that other people have learned the hard way. I think to me, that's what a business education is all about. And there are, of course, some skills, leveraging, for instance, understanding what financial metrics to look at for a company. These are hard skills that you'd learn, data analytics. These are skills that you could learn. You could learn on YouTube as well. I mean, instead of curating for yourself 50, 60, 70 courses on YouTube, you're saying that this is my 2-year period that I actually invest. Second thing is that MBA should lead to what I call a self-reflection phase. If you're working and you're continuously involved in working and you're doing a video here and a video there, how much of that reflection is even possible? That becomes a question. Having a dedicated time for yourself and saying, yeah, I've done my classes, I've learned the following. How does it apply to me going forward? What fascinates me in life? What is it that I want to do going forward? I mean, these are the questions that you want to spend time thinking about. This is another value that I see that an MBA brings to the table for you, which a curation of courses may not necessarily bring to the table. A final place where I think MBA kind of comes together for you is the peer group. You're talking about people who are constantly thinking about the same things that you're thinking over and over again from multiple perspectives. Naman, I don't know, but one of the biggest USPs of any management school has to be the diversity in the class. And you ask what does diversity agree. Table.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I mean, I think the way an economist looks at the world and the way a doctor looks at the world and the way a CA looks at the world and the way a looks at the world are very, very, very different. A mom CA may look at the world very differently from a mom engineer. I'll be very clear about that as well. So therefore, or a dad, arts graduate will look at the world very differently from a mom engineer. There's a lot of diversity that comes to the table. For instance, I mean, I am working, as I said, on TB. TB is a health problem. I've actually had arguments about, the treatment patterns, how to make them better. While I will not tell you this is the drug you need to take, or etc., etc., can I think of better delivery mechanisms? Can I actually think of better incentive mechanisms? Can we actually justify the additional cost that one pays for curing TB? My perspective comes from cost. A doctor, what is a breakthrough that I can have to cure you better? A sociologist is more worried about TB from the point of view of, hey, it's a social disease, it spreads like crazy. So how do I actually think about social ramifications? If a person has TB, specifically in India, this family is, boycotted by the surroundings. I mean, there are social ramifications for that. That's what a sociologist will look at. If you look at HIV, for instance, the biggest problem is psychological. Forget about the disease and its prognosis and everything else. It's actually psychological. The patient goes through a lot of trauma. So therefore, you cannot tell me that it is a problem of doctors alone. A psychiatrist and a psychologist, psychotherapist has to be involved together in the treatment of an HIV patient. So to me, this is what diversity brings to the table. And this is exactly what a B school should train you on, in embracing the diversity of thought and sharpening your decisions. You cannot have a uniform 45-year-old pontificating on how the world needs to work. In fact, actually 45-year-old should not be pontificating on how the world needs to work. I mean, a 60-year-old should definitely not be. The world is probably screwed up for so many generations already. So therefore, let's be very, very clear. So to me, these are the important elements of an MBA education: to sit on a case study with a bunch of classmates who have very different views of the world from you. So for instance, an American looks at an operations problem and says, follow SOPs. An Indian looks at an operations problem and says, what is a jugaad in this? I hope your audience understand the word jugaad.
Oh, 100%.
Translation would be street smartness, right?
Yeah.
Jugaad in this. That's what I tend to ask as an Indian, correct? So therefore, and even within India, a Tamilan may think very differently from a Telugu, may think very differently from a Gujarati, right? And which is very different from what a Bengali thinks. So therefore, this diversity of thought process is what I think an MBA brings to the table. So therefore, is it strictly necessary from a skill standpoint to do an MBA? Probably not. But as a holistic package, probably it's useful. Again, let me be very clear. I make my living teaching MBA, so therefore I'm bound to tell you that MBA is useful. You don't necessarily have to take me at my face value.